Right, let's go for a ride on a train down to Fulda. Traction today on our RE50 service from Frankfurt to Fulda was courtesy of a Siemens Vectron. Fulda is located some 100 kilometres to the west of Frankfurt and is an important interchange station with the promise of lots of freight and passenger trains. That was a very scenic journey behind the Vectron there. We're now down at Fulda. Freight traffic everywhere, and there's a nice big yard out the other side of the station. Let's see what we can find. Tones from the driver and a nice spot. Anything with rods has got to be a win. So one of the things that's very evident here in Germany is the larger loading gauge. Although the track is standard gauge 4 foot 8.5 inches, the actual loading gauge is a lot bigger. Easily demonstrated here with these massive 80-foot container wagons. Another great
Ladies and gentlemen, just to advise you, the stream will be starting in approximately 5 minutes. Have your drinks and light refreshments ready? We'll be starting in approximately 5 minutes' time.
And there's still a few knocking about today. One of the best things about going train spotting abroad, or anywhere for that matter, is coming across something unexpected and sometimes unusual. Look what I've just found. It's a snowblower. They do seem to like a good wheel flat here. The amount of wagons running around with flats on is just crazy. In the 3 or so hours we spent at Fulda, we saw a great selection of locomotives in a wide variety of liveries. I would love to have been able to spend more time here. This is certainly one location that I would really like to visit again. So we've only had a couple of days in Germany and I really like what I see railway wise. So who knows? Maybe it's time for a change of career.
Unfortunately, our trip in Germany was coming to an end, and it was time to board the train back to Frankfurt and onto the airport, this time courtesy of a Class 146. With the weather having been near perfect on both days, we managed to see a great selection of trains in Frankfurt, Koblenz and here at Fulda. Germany never fails to please, and I would recommend a visit to anybody who likes trains. In fact, maybe you want to join me on my next visit. Check the Discord server for details of Dadrail community events.
Well, I've had an absolutely brilliant couple of days in Germany, but all good things must come to an end. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Alex for showing us around, and a huge thank you to Dan and Rob for putting up with me for the last couple of days, and for imparting their knowledge. Rob, who is sitting there just off camera. Germany, great place, can't wait to come back. Let me know what you thought of the video as well, guys. Let me know if you'd like to see more content like this, maybe from the UK or maybe from other countries in the world. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you have enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you very, very much to my Patreon supporters, whose names are on the screen now. Until next time, remember, create, share and inspire.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to number 2 stream tonight. We are spoiling you rotten. First of all, can you all hear me? I believe you should be able to, but I've had to fiddle around with my settings in order to get Alex into the stream, so hopefully you can still hear me. If you can, shout yes in the chat and we will resume the stream. Who have we got in? Pig and Bob, Bluegrass, Maxwell, Jude, Official, Noah. 86 of you lovely people here, which is fantastic. Hello again. Yes, you can hear me. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have Alex, our German train driver friend, who's been on a previous stream before, who's kindly agreed to come into the stream and tell me all about the ICE one, answer any questions you may have, and hopefully we can have a successful drive on the route, which name I can't remember. I've got it in front of me, actually. That's the one. Kassel, Wurzburg. I'm going with that. So I'm going to put Alex on now. Yeah. Say hello, Alex.
Yeah, hi. Glad to be here, and yeah, we'll see what this new route's all about. I do actually sign it in real life, and I also recently signed the ICE one in real life. So yeah, it's been a great opportunity. So hopefully this will be, hopefully it will work out and it will be enjoyable to watch.
Fantastic. I'm just going to check the chat, make sure that everyone can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear at my end. The sound meters on the screen look like you're coming through loud and clear. So, British Film Guy says loud and clear. I think he's talking about me there. Just wait for the Bluegrass. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Hello, Alex. Yeah, we are there. We are in. We are working. Okay, brilliant. Guys. So, do all the bits I have to do first, because although you lot were watching the previous stream, someone may have clicked on this out of general interest. So, my name is Richard, and I'm a freight train driver and former passenger train driver based in the southeast of England. We have Alex in the voice chat, who is a German train driver based somewhere in Germany, in the west, I believe.
Yeah, in the south more, in Nuremberg. That's where I'm based.
Well, there we go.
So in Bavaria.
And as always, guys, all the views and opinions expressed within this video are solely my own and may not reflect those of any companies I may be employed by or associated with, and I should imagine the same goes for Alex as well.
Yeah, I'm going to repeat that as well. everything I'm going to say is my opinion and may not represent any companies that I may be associated with.
Perfect. We're also going to be playing Locomotive Location Livery in tonight's stream.
Locomotive Livery Location.
And it's a picture that I have provided, and I'll give you a little clue. It is a German one. It is a German one, and you may have already seen it in the stream tonight because it is a screenshot of something. So I've probably just given it away, made it far too easy there. We're also going to be jumping in and out of the Discord server, guys, so feel free to post any pictures you want to. Oh, that's my private chat with Alex. You don't want to be seeing that. There's nothing to hide in there, I promise. Everyone's screenshotting. I've got live stream pictures post. There we go. Right, we've got the right thing up now, so we can go back to that screen there. Brilliant. Yeah, so we're going to be jumping in and out of Discord and playing Locomotive Location Livery. But without further ado, because we've been talking for far too long, let's press that button there and jump into Train Sim World 3. So I'm going to load up the route, and we'll do it. Is that the right route? Have I clicked? Let's try it by choosing a train. See if that helps. There it is. That's the ICE one there, isn't it? Fantastic. Right, we are doing this route here. Alex will tell you how to say it properly. There we go. So so the full length run is just over an hour, which is quite a good length, I reckon. Does it really matter what service we do? We just kind of jump into. Okay, then we'll jump into this one here, München Hauptbahnhof to Kiel Hauptbahnhof. Yep, I told you I'm going to butcher German pronunciation, so. So, do you reckon, in theory, we can completely turn the HUD off and we'll still be able to do this?
So, pretty much the entirety of this route is obviously the Schnellfahrstrecke, so that's the high-speed line, and in real life, and that is, well, I mean, I've seen a few streams of this as well before, so I know it's simulated. The entirety of this route is essentially in LZB, so that's Linienzugbeeinflussung, or the German in-cab signaling, which is what we use for speeds above 160 kilometers per hour.
So that's the LZB system.
Yeah, that's right, and basically, there's not too much that can go wrong with that. There's no signals to acknowledge in that regard. I should be careful how I exactly say that. In real life, there's obviously quite a bit more going on, but for a simulator where obviously everything is guaranteed to work, not really much to worry about,
hope.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Okay, so
yeah,
we're ICE 882 München to Kiel. Drive this train from Wurzburg to Kassel. 885.6 tons, 14 vehicles. I guess that's 2 power cars and 12 passenger vehicles.
Yeah, that's correct. That's the standard.
It's quite 353 meters. Is quite a long train.
Yeah, the longest we have is if you have 2 ICE2s together, it's essentially the ICE1. It's just it has a control car instead of 2 power cars, and obviously they can couple. And together they make, I'm not entirely sure, but we certainly round it up to 420 meters. So I believe it's something like 416 in actual measurement, but 420 meters is definitely what we round up.
That's a long old train.
Yeah, that's pretty long. Yeah, it's quite clear where to stop there. It's always at the end of the platform.
Okay, so let's jump in the cab. I'm going to turn the heads-up display off. What do I want to be doing first?
Well, I mean, yeah, so I guess we're probably going to... I mean, I'm assuming the train is, set up, and we're just going to sort of activate the cab. So I guess the first thing you would do in real life is make sure that the parking brakes are applied, and that would... so I'm not obviously sure if this is going to be simulated, but if you turn around, there's a big panel behind you.
Yep.
and there are a lot of sort of switches. I mean, obviously that you can do in the parking brakes. I wish I could point, but essentially your screen is now. It should be called Federspeicherbremse, and they would be illuminated. And we would also have to make sure that Führerraumwechsel should also be lit up. But I'm going to assume that it's probably not going to be simulated.
Okay, so
I imagine.
I'll kind of go through as much as I know that we have got simulators. So we'll enable.
So these are, that's probably So enable all of them. So L to B, that is what we're going to need to drive at high speeds. CIFA, that's essentially your vigilance system.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to be really naughty, and I'm not going to turn CIFA on. And the reason is my speakers are turned off. Actually, no, I can hear the game through my headphones. Actually, I've just realised. So I'll kind of get the train set up the best I know in the simulator, and if I miss anything, shout. So I think
work. So, I think
we want the brake key on.
Yeah, and definitely activate the cab. Yeah, just like that. And put it into forward. I think it might still be in the middle. Yeah, there we go. That's forward.
There we go. And I should have a light control somewhere here as well. Is that one there?
The one just to the right of that. That's that'll be to turn on the headlights, and then the one you were on originally. That's to select the brightness.
Okay, so I'm in full brightness at the moment. So
our normal operation would be in the middle. So yeah. All right, and then
just about there.
Yeah, that's good. And obviously the doors should be pointed to the left. Ideally, you check that before activating the cab. But it's that looks good. So in real life you would then do a brake check. But I mean, just opening the brakes with the brake key. You already did that, I think.
Yes, that's my brake lever on the right there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's your brake lever. The one to the left. Oh, okay. So you have two on the left, two big ones on the left, and the one on the far left. That's the cruise control.
Okay.
And you'll probably have to turn that on first. That's also on the panel behind you.
I noticed there's different settings for this. We have like the.
Yeah, that's right. There we are. Yeah.
Do we put this on VSOL or AFB?
So you turn it on first with AFB. So that's the bottom right one. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
By the way, guys, I can't hear anything. I can hear Richard, but I can't hear the stream. So unfortunately, I don't have much sound to go on here.
Yeah, that has just gone AFB.
Yeah, that's right. So that's basically the confirmation that you've turned it on, and then Vollsoll Freigabe. So that one that should be lit up. I believe it is.
It's pressing, but it's not lit up. Should we? Yeah. We'll see how we get on with that.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so that should be lit up, and obviously on the new ICs you can do that all on the display. I mean, essentially the panel behind you is basically what they didn't have in the display originally. So if you look at the new, the ICE3s for example, I mean they're not even that new anymore, but that's all in your display, in your displays in front of you. Everything that's sort of behind there,
so all of that is now on the computer.
Basically, yeah. Technology advances, I guess. I mean, they're not the youngest units anymore, so yeah. Okay, I think for the time they were built, it's pretty good, yeah.
So I've closed my doors. We're ready to leave. I've got a green and a yellow.
Yeah, and if you look just up above, you also have a 6 on the top,
which is 60 kilometers an hour.
Correct. Yeah, so we can leave a 60. So you firstly have to put the speed, the cruise control onto 60 as you've turned it on.
Yep, so I can see my kind of yellow bug going around there.
Yeah, that's right. So if you put that on 60.
Is that about there, do we reckon?
So it's 1500.
We'll go with that. Yep.
Yeah, that should be good. And then with the power lever, you would put that in just a notch in front of you first. That would then turn on the fans. And then you can release the brakes and then apply some power.
So what's that signal telling us there with the green and the one yellow? So obviously we're cleared to pass this.
That's HP2 Langsamfahrt, which is that means normally that means you're cleared to proceed at 40 kilometers per hour. The 6 above it, however, is lifting that speed up to 60. So that means we can go at 60. It's not.
Okay, I'm going to assume we need to close the circuit breakers and check the pantographs up.
Oh,
So-
right. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. If they're not up, then...
So I'll close the main circuit breaker.
yeah.
But I mean, the fans did start up, so in theory, that kind of means
There's something going on the left display.
it's moving.
I see.
Okay,
Yeah, that
so
was probably
we'll
it
turn
then.
that off.
Yeah.
Jag1, new subscriber. Hello, welcome to the stream. So do I need to PZB acknowledge as I pass this signal?
No, there's nothing to acknowledge. So there was a distance signal, but it was dark. Or you should probably press frei though, because you've got your 85 blinking. In real life, that should be a 70 and an 85 alternating. But so when you start the first journey you do in a direction, the PZB will have this what's called a start program, and it's basically 70 and 85 alternating, and that restricts you to 45 kilometers per hour. So if you just press the free, you're allowed to do that if you're allowed to go over 30 kilometers per hour, and there's no 500 hertz magnet.
You know, I said I wasn't going to turn.
Yes, yeah, I need to reel it back in again. I think.
I think I've just.
It stopped.
I think I've just triggered the Zephyr.
Oh, I reckon that's probably the Zephyr. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear. I've got unfortunately no.
So I need to.
Yeah, you got to press phone. Yeah, that's a good. That's actually impressive if they've done that. Okay, they have. Okay.
So that
Fair
recharges
enough.
the brake
I
pipe.
would have thought- yeah. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, there's a lot of loops in the ICEs, and it's basically like a sort of double. Like, okay, I should probably read it in a bit, but essentially, yeah, on the ICE one, you would have to, whenever there's an emergency brake, or if in some way you're Hauptluftleitung, I've got Google Translate up on the side, so I can look up the technical terms. But basically, the brake control pipe, I believe that's
There we
called
go.
somehow.
I am going to jump up and just turn the Zephyr off because I've got a funny feeling that's.
Yeah, it might stop us a few times. Yeah, probably a good call.
I've stopped again. I think that's because I got up out the seat and
It might be, yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool
Press
that that's
high
simulated,
again,
right?
So yeah, that little yellow foot, that means So
Yeah, so
Zephyr's off.
Zephyrs now
Yeah, okay.
isolated. Okay, guys.
That's
So
probably it.
we will once we get going, we will go through the chat and start answering some of your questions and stuff. I've just pressed that
Yeah,
button.
should be good. You should put the power back into 0, and then it should work again. We call that the Nullstellungszwang. So if there's been a break of any kind, you have to reset the power handle, just to sort of tell the train that you really want to leave.
Yeah, that kind of
Are we
makes
moving?
sense. Okay, we are moving.
Yeah,
we
Yeah,
are
there we
moving.
go. Good stuff.
I'm sure when you drive this in real life, it's a much smoother experience.
Well, I'd hope so, yeah. But yeah, I mean, been vigorously trained in the simulator last week. Which was a very nice experience.
Let me know, guys, as well if you want the game sound. I think the game sound might be coming through a bit too loud, but do let me know. Hey,
I'm gonna see if there's something on my end preventing me from hearing. It's a bit...
Basic Ohms 56 has become a member. Thank you very much. So that I just had a beeping noise. I know you haven't got sound, so I'm guessing that's the LZB kicking
right.
in.
Yeah. So I can. Yeah. I mean, I can see what's been going on though. Yeah. So basically, yeah, we're now in the in-cab signaling. So PZB is now gone. So if you can see your 85 is it's no longer there.
Yeah, and I've just got a B on the screen there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the B was. Well, I mean, it should have been there before. That basically is telling you that the LZB from the train is ready to go, basically. So it's awaiting instructions, as it were. So at this point, you can definitely put your cruise control all the way forward as the LZB interacts with the cruise control, and as long as both are in, well, yeah, I mean, I guess if both are enabled, the train will automatically keep to what you've set.
Okay, so from my understanding of the LZB system, the little yellow dot there, also the red marker there, that's telling us our current permitted speed.
Yep, that's correct.
The yellow diamond there is what the cruise control is currently set to, so that's just going to follow.
Yep, that's also correct.
The 160 is our next speed, and the distance counter on the left. So that's saying we've got at least 13 kilometres until we need to be doing 160.
Yeah, that is correct.
Have
And
I got
also
that?
on the... Yeah, that is absolutely perfect. And what they've also done here, which I like, is so this is actually on the old LZB. There's a few LZB versions as well. And on the old LZB, your next speed, if it's higher than your current one, won't be shown. So it's showing 160 now is actually, that is also accurate. Yeah, so that's pretty impressive. And also, if you look to the left of your screen in the middle, there's a blue light, and that should be an U. And that's basically, that's basically your guarantee. You could say that, what you're seeing from the in-cab signaling is actually correct. So there's basically sort of 3 computers working in the background, and at least 2 of 3 must always come to the correct or to the same value, and that's how the train sort of knows that the data it's getting is actually correct, and you're not going to charge with 280 kilometers into, another train, for example. That wouldn't be particularly great. So
Brilliant. And Jack, the EMD says heads over to buffet car. So now it's driving itself.
Yeah.
Seafa's isolated. We can run off to the buffet car and get coffee.
I don't see why not. Yeah. Alternative, you could always ask a member of staff from the restaurant car to bring you something. But
is that something as a driver that you're allowed to do? That happens often.
Well, yeah, basically. We do get reduced prices as well. Not for free, but it's very reasonably priced, I should say.
Fantastic. Noah says I'll have a cup of tea. Iron Crowley, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. What does ICE stand for? Is it just a nice word to call a train? I believe it's Intercity Express in English. What would that be in German?
It's exactly the same. It's literally Intercity Express. So in Germany, especially, not even so much back then, but what's kind of become apparent in Germany is that sort of speaking in English or using English terms for a lot of things has kind of become sort of modern. And ICE is obviously quite an old logo, but I guess they wanted to kind of push for the international thing. Don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure, but I would imagine it's just so everyone knows what we're talking about with the ICE.
And do you call them ICEs or do you call them ICEs?
Definitely ICE. So ICE would obviously be the English pronunciation, but it is an abbreviation. It's meant to be 3 separate letters. So we also have an intercity, which is IC.
Indeed.
So, so that's always the reasoning I bring if someone says ICE or ICE.
Okay, so I think we are going to play our first round of locomotive location livery.
Post your numbers
So
now.
guys, post your numbers.
Locomotive livery location.
DET Trains 43, can we get an exterior shot when we're out of the tunnel? Absolutely no trouble at all. Don't forget guys, if you have any questions for Alex, do type them in the chat. He's the man on German stuff. So if you have just joined us, we do have Alex in the chat, who is a German train driver who drives these trains over this route in real life. So if anything goes wrong, it's Alex's fault. I'm under his instruction.
Well, at this point, there's not really much that can go wrong. We're in the LZB, the train's, it's got permission to take all the power I've been given it, and so it is essentially driving itself at this point. But I really like this route, especially to Fulda. Especially if you look at now, it's just very impressive. With a sunrise or sunset, just sort of flying over all these little villages, and it's really nice, this route. Because what I find is sort of high-speed lines, they kind of get this rap of just being in the middle of nowhere, straight, seeing nothing, and sort of big walls to the left and right. But there are a few routes like that, but for this one for sure, it's very scenic, I think, as far as high-speed routes go. Not particular. I wouldn't say it's the Alps or anything, but as far as high-speed routes go, I think it's very nice.
It's not a bad one. Okay, Maxwell.
Let's play.
You are the third one on my screen.
Livery location.
If this is the first time you've seen this game, guys, I'm going to give you box number 11, as chosen by Maxwell, and you have got 10 seconds to tell me the locomotive livery and location of the train. Here we go. Not much to go on there, but it may be enough. Any ideas?
But I should probably keep quiet.
Don't tell them, Alex. Don't tell them.
No, definitely not.
And Little Jack wants to have a quick look in the Discord server. We can also do that. 66 at Tunbridge. And some steamers. Great stuff. So, Why Hun Lam says, why do the IC3s and 101s like to randomly blurt out Storang, even when there's nothing wrong with them?
Störung. So it's essentially like a computer. Well, I mean, it is a computer, but Störung. I'm not sure if he's talking about the simulator in particular, but I mean, I must also say I don't actually have this game in real life. But Störung, that does sometimes come for sort of, well, just like a status change, for example. It basically just means it's telling you something that, you know, that you need to look at.
Okay.
I mean, well, Störung by definition does mean fault, but it might be something that's very minor, for example, or indeed, yeah, basically. Well, oh wait, okay, for example, ICE1, it will also tell you Störung if you forget to turn the fans off at a standstill. Then it will remind you to turn them off, and that will come as a Störung. Although it's not actually a fault, it's just because the fans are quite loud. You don't hear them. Well, I mean, you do hear them in the cab, but you know, if you've been driving for 30 minutes, you're probably a bit sort of desensitized to them, so you might forget to have turned them off, and then the train will remind you to turn them off. So that would be an example of a fault that isn't actually a fault. So I guess
So it's just a warning then, basically.
basically, yeah. So I mean, it is meant to say that something's wrong, but you know, 99% of the time it is. But you know, most faults are very minor.
Fantastic.
In the sense that, you know, they don't have a big impact on rail on the safety. But yeah, it is always something that you should look at though. So that it never comes for no reason.
Ned Tom says, sorry Alex, Ned Tom says, I travel from Berlin to Hamburg, lovely scenery. That is the only ICE route that I have ever done. So now we've got a G just come up on our dashboard, and I notice our next speed is a 250.
Yeah, so
And the
train's
distance
already
is
started
reducing.
to brake. Yeah, the train's already started to brake. So in real life, you would manually brake, especially on this train. Some of the new ones, particularly the ICE4, can actually do it automatically pretty comfortably, but the ICE1 in particular, it still has a reasonably classic braking system. So while the brake curve is continuous, you know, the train will sort of be releasing and applying all the time. It's not going to be particularly comfortable, so especially in the ICE1, you would manually brake on the brake curves.
So the correct way for me to
G is.
So the correct way
sorry,
for me
go
to
on.
drive this now would be to take the cruise control all the way back and then drive it manually.
No, you would leave the cruise control all the way forward, but you would take the power back and apply some brake. Make sure you're under the red mark.
Okay, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and the G is just to warn you that the brake curve is imminent. So the train basically wants you to start braking within the next few seconds, or also intervene, basically.
So now we've got we had a 0. It's gone up to 250 now. So we'll let the train do its thing. Jack, I did just see a nice comment. Little Jack, are trains usually late in Germany?
Well, I've got a big smile on my face now. I mean, they certainly in Germany do have a reputation for being late, and yeah, I mean, it could definitely be better, to put it bluntly. I do think there's a lot going on, and I think this problem on the railway, and again, just a reminder of the disclaimer, this is my opinion, and not necessarily the opinion of any company I may be associated with. My personal opinion is that there's definitely too much going on the railway, and the problem is, as soon as something goes wrong, it has a massive chain reaction. And particularly in my experience as a driver, I think most of the delays I've had have been because something in front of me has happened and I've been waiting for the line to clear up, or personally then also been part of rectifying the problem, for example, if there's been a signalling issue or something.
So Monty Burns Gaming says you have kind of a southern accent, Alex.
Yeah, that is true. I'm from Southampton originally in England, so I was born and raised there. And I mean, I am half German, but I grew up bilingual, and I decided to move to Germany when I was 18 or 19. No, I think it was 19 actually. I can't remember now.
So being that you're from England, you spent a lot of time living in England. You'll obviously know that to English people, German railways are kind of the pinnacle of reliability in an efficient transport system. Your experience in Germany, does it echo that?
No, I would say the short answer is no. But I must also say that I think in total, especially with the German signalling system, especially look at LZB, if you think that this is something from the 80s, I think that's, from an engineering point of view, I think that's incredible, to be honest.
I would
and
agree.
I think especially how we drive with the route plan, that in theory you could probably drive any route without prior route knowledge. I think that definitely means that the potential Germany has is I don't want to say it has the potential to be the best, but I think it could certainly be amongst the best railways in the world with the proper funding, the proper support and love, I guess.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think the potential is absolutely massive, and that's basically it. I think it's just been a big issue with funding, and yeah, that's kind of been the unfortunate downfall. And obviously, with there being too much going on too little rail, that's kind of the biggest issue, I think.
Lorenzo asked a good question there. Question for Alex: what happens if LZB fails?
Yeah, so there are obviously procedures for that, and that's again why I say that's also the reason we have a train driver, obviously, because as it looks now, you're kind of not needed at the moment, Richard. The train's doing its thing and it will stop before a red signal. But indeed, what happens if suddenly, this is all being picked up by an antenna, but there might be something, the antenna might fly off, or whatever. The computers might crash. This is always possible. So it does depend. Okay, so I did definitely need to reel myself in a bit, but it does depend on what type of LZB you've been on. So if the blocks, so basically if the line side signals, I really don't want to get too technical with this, but basically, so depending on what's on the route, I guess we could just say, to simplify it, you would either then stop, not with an emergency brake, but you definitely come to a standstill, reasonably quick. The LZB does actually have a brake curve, sort of as a backup for if it no longer receives any data, and then you would either stop, and then with working with the signaller, you would then, when the line is clear, you would then proceed at a reduced speed, or in some situations, but they're very particular, you could actually proceed at your sort of line side signaling speed. So definitely not at this speed, but you could continue at 160, 150 kilometers an hour. But I don't want to. If anyone wants to know the real specifics, I'm absolutely happy to go into that. But I don't think for the stream that's going to be a good idea. It's going to get too complicated, I think.
No, so would the train automatically stop itself if the LZB failed?
So if the LZB, obviously the LZB has access to the brake pipe, So if the LZB completely, if your entire thing crashed, not train, but if the LZB computer, as it were, crashed, then you would definitely have, the train would automatically stop straight away, emergency brake. If it just doesn't get any data, then it does have a sort of backup brake curve, which is based on what it had available before the computer, before it stopped receiving data. But so if for some reason, essentially, even without a driver, if for some reason, you did injury, this wouldn't be allowed the way we're driving now with the vigilant system disabled. 280, but even if that did happen and you suddenly fainted now, probably safely be stopped.
Yeah, that's the same in the UK. I believe with the vigilance, and I'm going to make a fool of myself. I believe with the vigilance system's isolated, you're restricted to 60 miles an hour, or 50 on a freight train, and then it's. However, if you have a competent person with you, you can travel at line speed, but it's certainly a reduced speed. Or but then we have instances where if you have multiple safety systems isolated, you have to have a competent person, or you can't run. So you have to be accompanied. And I should imagine you've got safeguards like that in place.
Yeah, that mirrors us pretty well actually. So without the vigilance system, we drive at 50 kilometers an hour, unless obviously you have a competent person who can, you know. So I mean, what we have as the criteria is that they have to be able to stop the train. Secure it to prevent it from rolling again, and call for help. Those are the 3 criteria that have to be met. And they should also be someone who's trained and examined in the railway. So can't just be a random guy who you just show the brake lever to. Has to certainly be someone who's involved in a sort of safety critical role in the railway. But for the most part, yeah. But we have, if there's no PZB, so if there's no line side signalling, then it's always 50. There's no exception. You could have 10 people in the cab. It will still be 50.
And My Life Aslak says, what does LZB stand for?
Yeah, so LZB stands for Linien Zugbeeinflussung, and that basically means, so Zugbeeinflussung is basically train, not intervention. Sorry, I think I'm going to get Google Translate, but I don't think that's probably going to translate well.
So I will just point out, using Google Translate, although you are half English and speak perfect English, a lot of the technical terms, obviously you only know in German, so...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially if we get into the technicalities of how the train works, you know, I mean, because that's also part of the training, obviously, how the train, moves and everything. I've got no idea how to explain that in English. I really don't. I'll probably get a translator out every third word. It's all the technical terms I've learned in German, and a lot of them are kind of hard to translate. But yeah, so Zugbeeinflussung, it says train control. I think that is pretty accurate. So basically, what it means is it's a continuous train control system. So, it's not like a line side signal where we'll pass at yellow, but until then we're on green. The train continuously knows what's going on. At no point is the train unaware. So, we know we're allowed to go. I can't read it's very small for me, I'm afraid. So, I mean, you guys can't see this, but on my screen I'm kind of watching what Richard sees, so on his stream. So I've got like a very sort of small box for the stream, I'm afraid. Yeah, actually zooming in, that's great. Although I think that's 250.
Yeah, but, 250 on there.
Yeah, so the train knows we're allowed to go 250 at this point, and it knows in 10 kilometers we can go 250. And obviously with line side signals, the train has to pass the signal to know that we've gone past a signal that wants us to stop.
Yeah, it's a fixed point, not continuous.
Yeah.
Rafe the Train Spotter says, hello Richard. For Sam, actually Rafe, we have Alex in the chat. Do you see train spotters, and do you blow your horn for them and say hello?
I do see train spotters a fair bit actually. I mean, I suppose obviously on the ICEs you do travel quite a lot during a shift. You cover a lot of ground, so the likelihood to see train spotters is much higher. I think, officially we're to sound our horn. If there's a reason to, I think we'll leave it at that. But,
and we have a great clause in the UK rule book. Yeah. It's whenever the driver deems it necessary. So.
I guess we can leave it at that. Whenever I deem it necessary, I'm allowed to blow it.
Post your numbers.
And what's the fastest train in Germany?
Location.
The fastest speed in Germany is 300 kilometers per hour, but the ICE3 can actually go at 330. That's what it's actually allowed to go at. But there's no route in Germany, or any route at all, in fact, that it can actually achieve that. It used to go, at least the 406, so the country one. International, that's probably the better word, yeah. That did go to France, and it was travelling at 320 on the French route to Paris. But in Germany, 300 is the limit.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to do another round of locomotive location livery, and Lil Jack is the third one on my screen with number 12.
Let's play locomotive livery location.
I've just pressed number 2 for some reason. Oh, you get 2 for the price of 1. Let's give you number 12 as well, guys. do let me know what you're thinking. We'll also have a quick look in the Discord server as well, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Discord link in the description below. What have we been posting? No new pictures over there at the moment, so if you do want to post anything, we're in the live stream pictures page, and there's a Discord invitation link in the description below. So if you have just joined us, we have got Alex, a German train driver, in the voice chat with us. So if you have any questions about German railways or German train driving, do post them in there and we will try and get them answered for you. Question for Alex from Carmen A. Do train bulletins / updates get issued electronically or on paper?
Well, I mean, I'd say most rail companies in Germany, they're pretty much electronic now. I would say, I mean, I'm sure there's probably a few companies that aren't, but they still do everything in paper form. But I would say certainly for the majority of train companies, I mean, certainly the ones I've been working with, they all, well, we had a tablet and a work phone, and we got most of our information on the tablet. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're the same here. We're everything's electronic. PSI Sniper, welcome to Dad Round, new subscriber. Jake, the EMD NSSD40, what computer are you using? So I'm currently running an i9 overclocked 5 GHz, 32 gig of RAM, and a RTX 3090, and I'm only getting 50 frames per second. Which is no reflection on the game, I might add, because I have the game running. Normally this runs at about 70-80 FPS. I have the game running, I have the stream running. I have the stream is coming out to you via Streamlabs. It's also streaming out to Alex via Discord, and I've got Alex's voice coming in via Discord. So the computer's working very hard at the moment, which is why the frame rate's dropping off. So yeah, it's not a reflection of the game.
I've just also opened your stream on YouTube so I can look at the chat as well, and it's much clearer now. Yeah, because it's sort of, I can sort of see it on what you're showing me, but yeah, it's quite small.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, so someone asked what system is the simplest to learn? Lorenzo Pantalini. Well, I mean, there's not too many in Germany, I guess. I mean, so we have, I mean, obviously Zifa, the dry Original system. I would imagine that's quite easy to learn. You know, when you see the light or hear the sound, just press it and it'll go away. That's just to make sure you're still there. PZB is the sort of standard. I think there's no such thing as a train driver in Germany who doesn't use that. Or at least on the main line. I mean, there are sort of weird branch routes but yeah, I mean, for the most part, PZB is certainly a bit complicated to learn, but I think once you get the hang of it and know what it's actually wanting of you and why you're doing what you're doing, I think it becomes second nature very quickly. So the learning curve is quite steep at the beginning, but you get used to it very quickly, I'd say.
So I'm just going
to... Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I'm just going to bring you back to the game, Alex. So we're back on the classic lines now because we've got signals next to us. However, we're still on LZB because we've got the control wire. So we can ignore all the line side signals except red, I believe.
That is absolutely correct. Yeah, the only line side signal that is now valid, or yeah, is red. That also includes temporary speed limits. So if there's a temporary speed limit in place, the LZB will also reflect that.
Perfect.
And the reason you might, I mean, it's essentially not non-existent, but there are some very rare situations where you might have a temporary speed limit that isn't reflected in the LZB. But for the most part, they are.
So,
I mean, from my experience, it's
so coming down into Fulda now. I know the game will actually stop us using the cruise control. Is that prototypical?
No, and especially not when we're stopping at a station. Then we'll definitely be braking manually. Regardless on what train we're driving.
So my correct driving procedure now would be to take the power all the way back?
Yeah, definitely. Power all the way back and start looking at braking. We're getting quite... I can't... Oh, well, I suppose we're...
See, now I'm assuming the game is wrong now because I've taken my power all the way back and it's still braking.
Yeah, no, that's correct. It's the LZB will always brake it will only apply power if you give it permission to, but it'll always have access to the brakes. The only way to get rid of that is turn off the AFB or brake manually. Then it will override what the AFB wants to do. So if you start applying brake, even if it's less than what the AFB wants, at least in real life, not sure if the sim's doing it, but in real life,
No, I think
as soon as you touch the brake handle, it's gonna do what you're doing.
I think that the Sims just over. It will allow me to apply more brake, but it won't allow me to release it. It's just bringing me in with the. So that is not.
Yeah.
So even though, so I suppose it's actually slowing me down for the red signal we're approaching. That's what it's.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it's doing. Yeah. I mean, but again,
So
in real life, you would
have intervened.
Absolutely, yeah. So when we're stopping at stations, we're always doing that manually. There is no situation where you would let the LZD do that for you. And I mean, it's kind of advised against to let it drive to a red signal for you. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you stop, the only thing you have to do is stop before the red signal, or indeed the LZB stop. And I mean, yeah.
So we've stopped and opened the doors. Is there anything we need to do? We need to shut the fans down manually, or
yeah, you would shut the So the fans you would close. You would shut down manually.
it sounds like they've already gone off. If I'm being honest with you, but
probably yeah. So that's the switch. That's that one exactly. So you would just pull that towards you, wait a few seconds, then put it back in the middle again. I mean, in real life, you'd wait for when you hear them sort of powering down, then you can put them back in the middle.
And is that just like the traction motor fans, just to keep everything nice and cool?
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. Yeah. So that's just the thing about the ICE one. You know, the rest, all the others. I mean, okay, the ICE 2 as well, but all the ones after ICE 1 and 2, they're all multiple units, and they obviously also have traction motor fans, but they're not. You don't power them up before you depart. Basically, the train takes care of all of that for you. So in real life, you would then put the AFB handle, so the cruise control, you'd put that into 0, and that would then also apply your stopping brake. So not the parking brake, but it's like a
holding brake.
Yeah, holding brake. That's the one. Thanks. And then you would also put your brake lever into release, and that should then hold.
We can test that theory. So I put my brake lever in release. That's actually. Oh yeah, I can see that. It's just holding. It's just below 5 bar there. So same as UK stock, 5 bar of pressure is a full release. That's exactly the same as we were. That's pretty standard, I think, across the railway.
Yeah.
Waihon Lam, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Is it a mandatory requirement to drive with the AFB on when LZB is active?
To drive? No, you don't have to do it. So, well, I mean, so the ICEs, they all should be operated with AFB. That is actually also written in their in the manual, I guess. But as it is, if you just look at LZB as it is, you don't have to drive the AFB. It just makes it obviously a lot more convenient. Because the train is doing a lot for you in that regard, but it's definitely not a requirement. There are also trains that have LZB and don't have an AFB. I can think of the 111, so Baureihe 111. There are a few with LZB, not many, but a few, and they don't have any cruise control. So then it's all up to the manual driving. Oh yeah, of course, the S-Bahn. The S-Bahn in Munich, they also run with LZB, and they don't have a cruise control either.
So there we go. That answers that one. Right, so I've got it moving. So I've put my cruise control AFB all the way up, release the brakes, full throttle. Yeah. I've gone straight to full throttle. Would that be normal, or would you notch it up slowly?
You notch it up slowly. So the AFB, well, it's called the AFB Haltebremse. So basically, the holding brake, that will only release if you apply a certain amount of power, just so the train knows, right, you really want to depart. And I guess that's to prevent you sort of applying a little bit of power. It releases the holding brake, and then you're rolling backwards.
Yeah, it's like a hill start function, I guess.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Vornam Nachain says the ICE well must be driven with AFB on.
All of them. Well, I mean, must is probably a bit too strong. If the AFB is functional, it should be turned on. I believe that's actually pretty much exactly how it's written in the book. But the thing is, I mean, a lot of the AFB functions are, well, I mean, yeah, they're very convenient. I guess if it's working, there isn't really much reason to leave it off. Things like the holding brake, for example. If the AFB is turned off, then you would have to do that all manually. I mean, that's always not the end of the world, and sometimes the AFB doesn't function. But it's all possible, but it's obviously there's less to worry about. But there was a question that I did want to answer. I thought that was quite interesting. Someone asked, "Do German trains have a DRA-like thing?" A train spotter from Berkshire. Do German trains have a DRA-like thing? And I think, well, I don't think, I know they don't. But I think it's a good question because I quite like the idea of a DRA, and I'm always a bit. I've always wondered why we don't have that. So obviously, I guess the closest we get to a DRA is to actually apply the parking brake. To leave the cruise control in zero, because obviously you can apply power if the cruise control's in zero. Yeah.
It's
also a rule we have. Only apply the cruise control higher if you have permission to leave.
It's not all UK stock is fitted with DRA. There's a lot of locomotives don't have DRA. Class 66s don't have DRA. Class 69s. As you may or may not know about, don't have DRA. We'll say no more about that. But yeah, no, it's not universal in the UK either.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought that was a thing that they all had, but I mean, my UK rail knowledge isn't brilliant. It's all right, but yeah. I guess from the trains I've seen, they all had a DRA, so I kind of thought that was a standard thing.
PSI Sniper for both of you. Any lines you would love to see come to Train Sim World 3?
For me, well, I mean, again, so I don't really play simulators much, or at all, really. But I watch streams sometimes, especially Dan Rail. Very good stream, I recommend it.
Who's that?
But, yeah.
Thank you very much.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's hard to say, really. I think
so,
the routes that I've. Well, no, go ahead. I'll think about it.
If we're talking German routes, if we're sticking to the German theme, I've not travelled over that many routes in Germany. And when, because obviously I met up with you in Germany, and you acted as our translator and guide back in February, March, I believe it was. And the kind of route that one of the routes I travelled over, like I say, I haven't travelled over that many. Was the Rhine Valley left, I believe, I think we went from Frankfurt up to Koblenz. That is an absolutely lovely route. So I have very, very limited knowledge of German routes, so I'd have to go with that one personally.
I would probably agree on that. I think it's probably one of the nicest routes in Germany, to be honest. I think what I'd really like to see is from Munich to Brenner, which is sort of to Italy via Austria through Innsbruck, and that is an incredible line. I don't drive that in real life. You would need Austrian training for that. I don't have any Austrian training, and Nürnberg drivers wouldn't sign that anyway. That would be Munich if anything. But yeah, that's an absolutely jaw-dropping route. I think that would be absolutely lovely to see.
So a couple of questions that I've just picked up on. Alex, can you explain why there is train brake position 1A and 1B and not simply 1 and 2?
That is actually a good question, and that's also something I've kind of been wondering as well. I guess that's the very beginning, and I think it's sort of just I mean, you wouldn't really, 1A and 1B, they're very little. I think there's something, you barely let any air out of your main, the Hauptluftleitung, and the main, help me out here, Rich, the
main reservoir.
That's the one, main reservoir, yeah. It lets out very little, it's a very unnoticeable brake difference. I think it's just to sort of help with the comfort, you 1A, 1B, and then you go into 2. But it's a good question. I actually can't answer that.
And Cayman A has got a good one here. Hi, Dad, and Alex. What is the equivalent of up and down lines in German rail? So in England, the up line is typically towards London, and the down line is away from London. Do you have anything similar to that in Germany?
Not particularly. The closest we have to that is as I'm sure you have in England as well, we have a little booklet, although I guess it's on our tablet these days, and it's got a list of sort of all the temporary things going on in the route. So, temporary speed restrictions, all sorts of things. But temporary speed restrictions is kind of the main thing. And they are also defined in direction A and direction B. And I guess the closest thing we come to that is direction A and direction B, but no one really talks like that. When you're driving, the relevance is, are you on the right or on the left? So the Regelgleis, which is your, like, well, the normal track. So we're currently on the Regelgleis, we're on the right side, as German rail is on the right side normally. And then you also have what's called the Gegengleis, which is basically the opposite track. So when we're driving on the left, which is possible in, it's possible on a number of routes, then we're on the Gegengleis. But in terms of up-down, we don't really have that. And actually that's something else. There was a question as well about German, why is it more complicated in Germany? I think that's also something that ties in well to what I said at the beginning, that the German rail has massive potential. I think that the rules and regulations of German rail are very complicated, but they apply everywhere. And once you know all these rules, there's not too much to learn in terms of route knowledge. And again, in theory, in practice it's not done, but in theory, well, in practice it is actually done in exceptional circumstances. It is possible to drive without prior route knowledge in Germany. There are definitely speed restrictions and other things to watch out for, and there's a number of criteria that have to be fulfilled, but driving without route knowledge, that's something that would just straight up be impossible in England, wouldn't it?
I think so. So what we have, because obviously we've spoken about this before, the screen on the right hand side, the one I'm looking at now, that should have a moving route map on it, which gives you all your kilometre, your mileage markers, as we would call them, your kilometre markers. Tells you your upcoming speed restrictions, the line that you're on, stations, signal locations, and everything you need to know. So you can drive the train off of that map, and then obviously you have the books to back that up, don't you?
So if that fails, we've got books. You got it in your tablet, and if really all fails, well, I mean, I'm not really, well, to be honest, I'm not actually sure what happens, but I mean, if there's really no backup, well, I think even then they could probably email you a copy, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, you have your tablet, and that's basically your backup. If that fails, you've got your books. So.
Christina Munford says, "Hi Alex, big fan from Southampton. Why choose to drive in Germany?" I mean, why not?
Well, I don't know. I mean, so I think there's kind of two reasons. First is that I guess the German rail kind of fascinated me quite a bit, but also so did Germany as a whole. And I think some Germans might find that impossible to believe, but I guess it was something new I wanted to try, and I wanted to see something else. And I guess I was brought up bilingual, German and English, and I grew up in England. I learned English, and so I thought, why not try the German side of things, see how that works out. And that's I think those two reasons ultimately will brought me to move here.
Fantastic. So you say you drive this route in real life. From what you can see on the simulator, how have they done?
Well, to be honest, I haven't actually been paying that much attention. I've been looking at the chat and sort of thinking about what I'm saying to the questions, but I've kind of been like looking over it. I mean, I think it's well modeled, to be honest. I mean, what I like is, so if you look at those the posts we keep passing with the numbers, that's basically what you'd see in your route map, so you know where you are right now. And they're coming up with the correct numbers. I mean, I obviously I don't know exactly. The numbers obviously every 200 meters a new board comes. I couldn't say right at 287.7 we're exactly here, but the numbers started correctly, they're ending correctly. I'm going to assume that's done well.
Everything in the middle is as it should be.
Yeah, pretty much.
Post your numbers now for locomotive
I haven't been following it that
location.
closely, but it's.
Rafe the Train Spotter says, which loco to save or to rescue the ICE train if it breaks down?
That does depend on where you are. So it depends on obviously what engine's available. I couldn't speak for all of Germany, but I know actually where I am located in Nuremberg, we have it's known as the blue engine amongst us. It's a Baureihe 285, so it's a BR.
Let's play locomotive livery location.
And I believe I'm correct in saying that in Germany, most things are compatible with other things coupling-wise. So the ICE can be connected to a number of different locomotives without needing adapter couplers or anything like that.
Well, so most multiple units, I think pretty much all of them, they have the same type of coupling. So you could definitely connect them mechanically and with the air. Obviously, you can't travel, with an ICE-1 and say a S-Bahn, that you couldn't control them together. But you could. I mean, well, that would be interesting to see actually. But you could probably tow one with another. But for the most part, especially the ICEs, it is done with an engine, and we do have an adapter because that's a classic coupling with buffers and hook and everything. And so you put the adapter on and then couple with the ICE basically.
I just apologise to the chat. I just cut you off for a split second there, Alex. I done the locomotive livery location game, and when I press that button, it shuts off the game audio, and you're coming through on the same channel. So you were temporarily silenced, but you are back now.
Auto Slap Express, Scharfenberger Kupplung. That's the correct term exactly. But I believe they have that in England as well. Is it called Scharfenberg Kupplung? I mean, it's called that here because that was the inventor. But,
yeah, is that the hook and chain?
No, like what the multiple units have.
The thing is, in England, we have so many different units and so many different locos, and none of them are really, with a few exceptions, none of them can be coupled together. They're not compatible. So you often get a situation where a unit has failed, and the unit in front of it and unit behind it will be of a different type, and they're not compatible, which is a really
that's a bit,
silly situation.
Yeah, that can get quite sticky, I think. I mean, so I know we also have different types, but I think the variations are quite minimal. And I think for the most part, most trains are compatible, but I don't want to be quoted on that. I'm not too sure. I mean, because it is usually the train company's responsibility to tow it away. So if basically. So they will have plans in place for that eventuality.
In the UK it seems.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
In the UK, when things break, it seems like a blame game. Everyone's blaming each other and kind of writing checks as to who's going to pay the bill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, So I mean, I think in that regard, that's England's probably even a bit ahead though, because I mean, I've not really heard much of sort of train operating companies towing each other. So there's not been that much in the sort of let's help each other out kind of thing. But everyone sort of has their own backup, I guess. So I mean, it kind of works. I mean,
so not much cooperation between companies. That sounds like the UK.
I think, but I mean, pretty much same here, I guess.
Monty Burns Gaming. When is the next station? Feels like we've been going forever. 37 kilometres away. I think this is the longest route in Train Simulator.
I've heard that as well. Yeah, I remember this being their sort of the advertising. This is the longest route.
So driving long routes yourself like this, Alex, and having lots of time between stations, how do you keep yourself focused and sort of prevent boredom setting in? What are your tactics?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say really. I mean, I think often enough there is still something going on. I think you can still compare it to. I mean, I guess. Well, I mean, so obviously you don't have in-cab signalling, Richard, but you probably also have sort of periods where you're going through greens a lot of the time.
Yes, yeah.
Like on an extended period, and I mean, I'm not sure how to describe it, but I think somehow mentally you're still there. I mean, not in the sense that I'm daydreaming, but you're still sort of. I don't want to. It's hard to say really. It's sort of like a mindset you're in. Like I'm driving a train right now, and
that's a classic train driver's interview question I've just asked you there, really, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I think so. Specific for Germany, which is what I do as well, is I like to sort of reference myself on the route. Where am I now? What's my next signal? What's the next station in front of me? What station is behind me? So if I have to put an emergency call in right now, what would I say? And I just sort of go through these sort of scenarios. So just sort of keep myself on the ball, be prepared. So if something really does happen, I'm in the game straight away. I'm not sort of worrying about, what do I press, where am I, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And especially if you look at long tunnels, I think it's quite easy to sort of lose track of where you are. So I think sort of maintaining that, where am I right now, particularly on the high speed routes, I think that's quite important.
Yeah, definitely. And then, like you say, you've got the track plan you can refer back to as well.
Well, exactly, and yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of referencing and seeing where I am and seeing what the LZD is saying. Yeah, but I mean, I suppose a lot of it, when everything's working fine, well, it's just enjoying the scenery, I guess. I mean, obviously you're maintaining primary focus on what's going on in front of you, but you do take in the background.
Of course, yeah.
You can appreciate, yeah. I mean,
there's some beautiful scenery on this line to take in.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially in winter as well. When the trains are coming against, if the trains from the other side, at 250 kilometers an hour, it's whipping up all the snow. Or even in a tunnel, there's like a big sort of, you hear it at just a few seconds before it crosses you, because obviously these are extreme speeds and the power, and that in a tunnel environment that makes a massive sound.
Indeed.
You can really, especially on the front, you can really hear a train often before you see it.
I did kind of. I was watching a documentary about the bullet train, and that's one of the major problems I had with that. With the speed it was going into the tunnels, sort of the pressure, the air pressure being displaced with inside, so it almost creates a sonic boom.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty fascinating. To be honest. I just saw a question as well from Why on Lamb. I think are all the 401s and 402s now fitted with a newer style refurbished cabs. So the 402s aren't actually meant to get that. They're going. The plan. Well, I mean, I think the plan is that they want to take them out of service eventually. I mean, in the next few years. The ICE ones are certainly got quite a bit ahead of them still, but the ICE 2s are getting replaced by shorter ICE 4s, and so therefore they're not getting ETCS or a newer cab. The ICE ones, they all are upgraded, so they're all ETCS capable, but there's also another upgrade program going on now, or rather, I suppose it's kind of like a side grade maybe. So what they're doing is they're removing 3 coaches in the middle, and they're kind of giving it a big overhaul. So it also makes the cab, I mean, it's still the same cab, but with a fresh lick of paint and everything, and this project is it's to just try and extend the life, and they're going to use of the IC ones, and they're going to put them on sort of I'm not entirely sure where they're going to put them, to be honest, but most of what we know as the ICE1 routes, they're going to be ICE4s in the sort of medium future, I guess.
So Maxwell says, how does the GSMR differ in the UK and Germany? So, I've lost my bearings in the cab. This is the GSMR radio over here, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a very good question. I watched your video on that as well, Richard, about UK GSMR, and I was very impressed.
We actually have a sound effect here, Alex. See if this is the same sound that you get in Germany. Oh, you can't hear them, can you?
Yeah. So
yeah. Sorry, I forgot you can't actually hear them.
Yeah. But so, for example, what we can see straight away on our GSMR is we don't have a because you have a button what you press if you're in front of a red signal.
Yeah, we have an SG button when you press that when you're standing at a red signal. Which
we don't have that.
You don't have that.
And we also don't have. What was the yellow button? Not emergency, I think.
We have an urgent call facility, the yellow button.
Urgent call, that's right. Yeah, we don't have an urgent call either. So it's all emergency or normal for us. So that's also things like if there's a passenger emergency, that would also go through the emergency call for us.
So do you have with the CIFA system? If the CIFA system's activated and you don't reset it, will that then ping the controller or the signaller as well?
So I know that some trains are capable of it, but it's not to be relied on. Officially, it doesn't. That's not what happens. Officially, there's no sort of ping, which is also something I don't know. I'm. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, overall, having watched your GSMR video, I was actually quite impressed. And I thought actually a lot of these things would be nice in Germany. But so I mean,
Okay.
similarities are obviously channels and everything, and the emergency call there on peers that. But yeah.
So we've done GSMR well in the UK.
Yeah, I would say overall I definitely prefer the UK GSMR.
Hey, that's 1-1.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, if not only just for the the help call if the vigilance system isn't reset.
Thomas P. I usually listen to audiobooks while driving freight trains in Sweden to pass the time. We also have in-cab signalling. Thomas, I know in the UK that wouldn't be allowed. What would the stance be on that in Germany, Alex?
Yeah, the stance in Germany is also very clear on that. No distractions of any kind, so no music, no phones, no whatever. I mean, although I say no phones, we do actually, obviously we have our work phone, and we do actually use that for some procedures as well. So obviously using your work phone when required is allowed, but absolutely no use of your private phone.
So I seem to remember a conversation we had in Germany, Alex. You use the phone as your method of dispatch from some stations.
That's correct, yeah. So we actually have an app, and we sign into this app, and you basically select the train you're on, and the staff on board is also signed into this, and on most stations actually, the guard will basically tell you through this app that the train's ready to depart, and you will then confirm it, and then you can depart.
Perfect.
And if that doesn't go, then we still can call. There's other ways. But yeah. Sorry, I'll just go to the toilet at this stage. I'll be right back though.
No worries. So while Alex takes what we call a personal needs break, we shall play a round of locomotive location livery. We're actually just coming to the end of the stream. There's 4.9 kilometres to go. Let me know, guys, what do you think of the stream? I think the information Alex has been given has been really, really useful. It's always good to hear about other railways in other country and learn about railways in other country. I noticed someone said in the chat earlier that Alex is a troll. He most definitely isn't. I've met Alex in real life on a couple of occasions. I can assure you Alex is most definitely not a troll. Okay, what number are we going? Locomotive location livery. Jurassic Lark with number 4.
Let's play locomotive livery location.
Let's give you number 4, guys. There we go. 10 seconds. Locomotive livery and the location. 2, 1, and boom. Back we go. Eliza, hello, back. Get back to the tracks after being on the road. Odin's Warchild, have you ever fallen out of your seat? Not yet. there's a first time for everything. Not yet. Yeah, Noah, Alex is a top. I was just answering Noah's question. He says, Alex seems like a nice guy. I was singing your praises. You certainly are.
Oh, yeah. Thanks very much, yeah.
Okay, so coming into Kassel Wilhelms, yeah, that one. What would be the correct procedure for my station approach here then? So I'll take my power all the way off.
Yeah, power's all the way off. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you're gonna. Yeah, so I can see the G. I'm pretty sure we're going at 0. It's a bit. Can you zoom in a little? Yeah. So we're probably. Yeah, the exit signal's still on red. So Kassel, we also stop towards the end of the platform, so you would still be edging quite close to that stop. But yeah, so I mean, in terms of speed, it really depends on where you want to stop. I mean, if you've got a really long train at 420 meters, you can still honestly come at your station with 100 kilometers an hour, even more to a degree, with good weather conditions.
But obviously, like we said earlier, the LZB bringing me down to the stop.
Yeah, the LZB is kind of already doing it for you. Yeah. Yeah. So again, in real life, you would then intervene, and you would definitely be doing the stop manually. But if the sim's not going to let you override, then I guess there's not much we can do about that.
So what would happen in real life then? As soon as I touch the brake, it would cancel the LZB braking.
Yeah, basically. So if you have it in release, then if the LZB wants to take or apply it, well, I should say the AFB because that's really what's doing it. Then the AFB will kind of do what it wants to. But as soon as you are in a brake setting, it will do what you're doing. But doesn't seem to be simulated. No.
No, it's just taking it all the way. And I believe I tried as well. If I pull the cruise control,
that's going to make you stop earlier, because if you put if the cruise control's on, it's at 0, then the train will also try and stop you. Yeah.
Yeah, that does kind of make sense.
But that's definitely not the correct way to stop. I can't. Yeah, it would do the job, but
it's
not
to be relied upon, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
So we also we have down here that I noticed. It's like a magnetic brake test and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. So the magnetic brake. Yeah, that's right. So that's just for testing the brake. You wouldn't do that in sort of operation. So. The magnetic. Well, I mean, I assume you have them. Do you have them in the Yeah, I'm sure you have them in the UK.
No, we don't have magnetic brakes or track brakes, and we're just coming into the leaf fall season.
Right, okay.
So this is something I'm quite keen to sort of get to the bottom of.
Well, so the magnetic brakes, track brakes, they are only used in an emergency brake. So if your main, I keep forgetting. We about it so often. The 5-bar. The main reservoir, wasn't that? Is that right?
Yeah, well, the 5-bar, the red needle will be the brake pipe. The yellow needle is the main reservoir. Yeah.
Yeah. So they only come down in an emergency, and they're basically just a sort of. So the reason they were kind of included and developed is to achieve higher speeds without changing the signal distance. So, we have a standard sort of signal gap of, braking distance, I should say, of 1,000 meters. And obviously, the train has to be able to stop within those 1,000 meters. And the situation was, as the railway developed, either we rebuild all the signals and make the gaps longer, or we make the trains brake better. And so they went for trains braking better. And and they kind of added these magnetic track brakes, and that was just to be able to stop the train quicker when you really had to, basically.
Yeah. That kind of makes sense. Excuse me. And of course, if you've got low adhesion conditions, then obviously the train's gonna stop much better with those brakes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're much better with low adhesion conditions. So that kind of also adds a level of reliability. If you have misjudged your braking a little bit and you're worried you might actually, that red signal's coming a bit closer than you'd like it to, then you could always throw magnetic brakes into the mix as well. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, if you're happy, Alex, we might just do a quick run on PZB as well, just to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that. Yeah. So
are there any trains on my screen here that you are familiar with?
We could go. So familiar. Yeah. So I did used to drive the regional trains as well. Can I just go to the top? Although it has been a while, I must say. I did sign the 442. Let's see if there's another one. I'm not a big fan of it, though. There might be another one.
We got the 143 there.
Yeah, well, that's got quite a complicated driving system. I think the 442 is probably the simplest. Just to look at the PZB, it's because you just have a combined power and brake.
Yeah, or we've got a 185 there.
Yeah, I mean, so that's going to be a similar cab. So you've got a cruise control, but it also has LZB. To be fair, I think 442. It's just a classic classic. It's it's an EMU for regional services. No LZB, no in-cab signalling, just PZB.
We'll take it for a spin on Dresden then.
Yeah.
Grosboyne to Coswig is a 22-minute run. We'll have a little go on that one, and then we'll call it a night. I think so. We've been going for coming up to an hour and a half, so we really do appreciate your time.
Yeah.
We'll put it.
No worries.
We'll put it in light clouds. We'll put it in. Let's do it in the summer. No.
Yeah, that should be good.
We'll do it in March. I'm just thinking about the time there. Light clouds, okay. So we're going to drive this in PZB, which is now line side signals. So maximum speed with line side signals is 160 kilometers an hour.
Yep, that's correct.
And I'm kind of sort of wondering how many times I'm going to have activations. But with you guiding me, it should be perfect. Yeah. In theory.
Well, the sounds would certainly help a bit more, but I mean, I guess we can't really solve that. But I don't know. I mean, I can still see what's going on. So while it's loading,
not quite sure why you're not getting the sounds at your end. I don't know if that's kind of a Discord thing going on there or something. I'm not entirely sure. Stream settings, stream qualities. No, it's not giving me any audio options there, so I'm not quite sure there. Okay.
Well, not to worry. The sound's not too important.
It's like quite a nice time of day to drive.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not overly particular with this this train. So I'm guessing we've got like a brake key or something.
There is no brake key for this. Actually, interestingly, for these trains, the brake key is the brake lever itself. It was intended to take that with you when changing ends, but they never actually implemented that. They just built lever into both. So the lever itself would have been the key. You would have literally just pushed it in a bit, turned it, and then pulled it out. But not done in practice.
My master switch.
Yeah, so that should be the left. No, that's sort of middle.
There we go. Master key. On.
Yeah, so I did used to sign this unit, but it has been a few years.
It's very much use it or lose it with these sorts of things.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find the safety systems as well.
Yeah, they should be in the panel just right by the door. Yeah.
Ah, there we go. Turn some lights on. It does help, doesn't it? Oh, crikey.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that's pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm trying to find the one PZB. There we go.
So it should PZB. Yeah. What was the other one? I can't read.
PZB Überbrückung.
Überbrückung. Okay. Oh, right, I got it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the main switch and the isolation.
Okay. Well, I'll leave the C4 off because for obvious reasons. Unlock doors on the left. So we are stopping at. I'm not even going to attempt to say these locations. Coswig. I can do that one.
Coswig. I can't read. I wonder if I can zoom in. Well, I'll see if I can.
Priestwitz.
I'll go on YouTube and see, but then I can see it much better. Because the delay means it should be able to.
It's probably still up there. I'll pop it up again.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely don't sign anything in the east. So I mean,
Denrell, are you sharing your window or screen with Alex? That's a good idea, actually.
I think he's sharing his screen because I can see, all the volume and stuff going on. If you share your the window, that would probably help a lot. Because I can look at the chat on YouTube anyway. Yeah.
So if I stop streaming, try that again. Application or screen? Train Sim or free. Let me try sharing the application. Let me know if that helps.
I can also hear it now.
Hey!
That's very good. Yeah, that was a brilliant suggestion.
Thank you very much,
right,
Emily. We're back in business.
That was very good. Yeah.
Excellent.
All right.
Okay.
Niederau. Yeah.
Yeah, we're right.
I've got. I mean, I know where Dresden is, but I definitely don't sign this area, and I've probably never been there in real life. So.
Okay, we're running late. So we've got no AFB or anything on this.
It does have a cruise control, but it doesn't work in the sense that AFB does. So we can just leave it off. That's absolutely fine. So the core of the PZB is basically it's designed to make you stop in time or red signal. If you're driving too fast, essentially. That's
okay.
Kind of
so
you have.
I'm released.
Modes. Yeah.
Forward for power. That's odd.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that is also something. Yeah, big difference between England and Germany. Forward for power, back to brake. We don't have that in England it's the reverse, isn't it? Although I believe the tube is also forward to power. And
I believe it may be.
I can. Yeah. So. So this is the start program, 45 kilometers an hour. if you have an EBI cab train, which is this particular version of PZB, then you don't have all the blinking lights, but you do have a yellow bar telling you what speed's currently being restricted. So that's much more beginner friendly. But yeah, so don't go above 40. You should press release.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what the key behind is.
End, I believe. So I'm still got flashing 85 at the moment.
Yeah. So we did pass a signal, or well, we had a signal that allowed us to go faster than 30 kilometers an hour. So we would be allowed to release.
Yeah, I've pressed the release. I have pressed release.
I think you're pressing. Can you look to the left of the cab?
The PZB release is coming up on the right hand side there.
Oh, okay.
So that 85 should have gone off.
Yeah, and we would have heard a beep as well.
Right, it stopped flashing at me now.
Yeah. So after a certain amount of time, or well, after a certain distance has travelled, it will automatically release, basically. So that's probably what happened there. Yeah. So essentially, what is happening now? So when nothing's blinking, we just have our 85. That means, the train hasn't registered any magnets that might imply we have a slower speed or anything. So the train is now just making sure we're not going above 160. And the 85 is to remind us that if we do pass a speed restriction, that we have to brake to 85.
Is that in 24 seconds, I want to say?
23 for 85.
Oh, I was close.
Yeah, very close. 29 for 70 and 38 for 55. But that's just for freight trains. For passenger services, you will 99.9% of the time only be in the 85 mode.
Perfect. Rich, I'm playing on PC.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and yeah, we definitely need a HUD because I've got absolutely no idea where we are, and without a route map. Yeah, with no route map and no route knowledge, definitely not a good idea.
Yep,
So
understandable.
I guess HUD will have to take care of that. That's interesting nominations: 35, 70, 105, 140 on the sort of speedometer on the HUD. It looks a bit odd, but oh well.
So just keeping a little bit power in there. Let's just keep it going. So it looks like I've got something coming out of a yellow on it, so I'm guessing I'm going to need to acknowledge that.
Yeah, so numbers between 1 and 9 you should acknowledge.
So that's telling me my speed's going down to... Oh, is that a white or is that a yellow?
That's yellow, that's a 6, so yeah, so press acknowledge now.
And then I need to get my speed down to under 85.
Yeah, exactly, in under 23 seconds.
Otherwise it's going to do it for me. Not in a friendly way.
Exactly.
And that was a 6.
I like that.
Ah, you actually get...
Right.
Yeah,
there's a little bar running down. That's pretty
That's
good.
new to Train Sim World 3. I rather like that.
That is very good. I thought that was very well done, yeah.
Because it always used to be kind of a bit of an unknown.
Mm-hmm. Safe to release, it's saying. Yeah, in fairness, yes, it is. In this situation, you could release. So you have to have 60 by the time we're at that next signal. So yeah, but yeah, that's all good. Yeah, that we didn't have any. So the 6 is, so the white 6 means we now have the 60.
That's the commencement.
Yeah, and there was no other yellow number, so we're 60 until otherwise, basically. So there's no other information. So yeah.
And I'm guessing after so long it'll time itself out in a way, I'm guessing?
Yeah, so to be precise, 1,250 meters after you've received a magnet, well after you've passed a magnet, it will, if nothing else has come, then the train assumes there's no more danger, so it will release itself without you having to do anything.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to overshoot this massively, because
Oh yeah.
I really struggle with kilometers with adapting my speed.
Yeah. Oh, that's looking. No. Oh well.
Everyone's spilling their coffee. That's a terrible stop.
Yeah.
It's on the platform. As long as it's on the platform and everyone walks away, that's kind of the main thing.
Yeah, definitely. Full doors are on the platform, then certainly no danger.
Do you have incidents such as wrong side door releases and stop shorts? Is that a thing in Germany?
Well, I mean, yes, it does happen. Not much though. It's not something you hear about, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. It probably does happen, but it's not like
Post
a massive
your
issue.
numbers now for
So
locomotive
if you zoom
livery
in,
location.
there should be. I think there's a yellow number at the end of the platform. There's a 6. So that's also reminding us that so we can also depart with 60 kilometers now. So the yellow is always a warning, and the white is always like the commencement, basically.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I get that.
Yeah. So we're also allowed to go at 60. So the rule is we don't acknowledge the magnets, we acknowledge the signals. So even if we see there's no magnet, you will still press acknowledge, so the train knows. So obviously this is all recorded. So in the event of an incident, they'll still see how you've been, driving, how fast you've been, how you've been responding to the PZB. So
I'd still acknowledge that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll still press acknowledge. Yeah, but we didn't get any. There was no 1,000 hertz if you see nothing happened. But that's just just so the train knows that we saw something, basically.
Yep.
So that is definitely the correct driving practice. Would be to acknowledge everything between 1 and 10.
And there's nothing to
1
acknowledge
and
on
9,
that one.
sorry. Yeah, correct. There's nothing to acknowledge. That would be where the 60 is then commenced.
Yeah. Okay, so on that note, we'll jump over to locomotive location livery very quickly.
Let's play.
And just do another round of
Locomotive
that. And
livery
transport from box,
location.
number 25 you've gone for. Bottom right. I think a couple of... You can't see locomotive location livery now, can you? This you've got the... No.
I'm not participating, but anyway, I'd probably have an unfair advantage.
Quite possibly. Okay, I must have gone past the speed limit increase site. We've gone over a junction, so I'm guessing onto the main line the speed limit has increased.
Yeah. So the signal. So that was an exit signal. So that means the 60 is until our entire train has cleared the last junction, and then we can now proceed at line speed.
And you would know the line speed because it would be on your plan.
Yep, that's exactly right. Or in the HUD in this case. I was also reading in the chat. Someone said that there was a bug in this unit where you need to go to the exterior view and then go back to the cab to get the sounds to work properly. So that's why we didn't hear it initially. And wave on lamp, I think it was the same. Yeah. But he also said, do drivers get annoyed when they reach the dreaded 500 Hz magnet and it's active, and then as soon as they pass the magnet, the signal goes on green? Yes. Definitely yes. Very annoying. Because then you have your speed restriction, even though the signal's just cleared. So you still have to obviously adhere to the speed restriction. You can't tell the train it's just gone on green, you can let them go. Yeah, very annoying. And that's also why sometimes you'll see trains sort of creep out of stations even though they've got a green signal and nothing else. It's probably because the PZB is still restricted.
So if you go past the 500 magnet, is it 30 kilometers an hour you're restricted to?
So that also depends on the mode you're in. We'll just keep it simple for passenger trains. You have 153 meters to go from 65 to 45. All speeds, you will always drive them under 5 kilometers per hour less. So when you're being restricted to 45, you'll still only drive at 40.
That makes
and that's
sense,
just to rule out any eventuality of discrepancy with the speedometer, that sort of stuff. So yeah, and the PZB does actually, it's not actually monitoring 160, it's actually monitoring 165. But the train's only permits to go 160, so obviously we'll never be going faster. In case, you pass out and the power handle's all the way forward or something, then the PZB, well, I mean, that's not really a realistic scenario, but if for whatever reason you're going above, the PZB will certainly stop you when you go beyond 165.
And
So
there's no system on the train now monitoring my my top speed. But obviously, I'm guessing if I exceeded 160 under PZB, it's going to knock me out.
Yeah, exactly. So there's nothing monitoring the 120 right now. That's just the train's now trusting the driver that we're doing the correct line speed.
Ooh, never trust the driver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alex,
Yeah.
Maxwell asked a good question back on the GSMR. During a routine call to the signaller, in the UK he says here, would you need to use the press to talk button? No, you don't in a routine call, Max, only on an emergency call. I'm guessing that's probably the same in Germany with an emergency call.
That's the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct. So press the talk, we'd only do an emergency call. And yeah, if you're on an analog, if it's not a GSMR, if you're using an analog radio, but that's pretty much non-existent nowadays. Also, if you're doing an announcement, so you have to press the loudspeaker and then push the hold for what you're saying to actually come through. But those are the only sort of scenarios I think of where you'd have to actually push the talk.
Yeah, that's good. Knife by Kangaroo. I was playing a Tracy World freight mission, I think, that said no matter what time of day you must have your lights on. Is this true? Yeah, no, you always have your lights on. Doesn't matter what time of day.
It didn't always used to be like that in Germany. Especially if you look at sort of old pictures. I'm not sure when they made it a rule, but it used to certainly not be a rule, but it definitely is nowadays and has been for at least sort of 15 years, probably longer. Always 3 white lights at the front of the train, always 2 reds at the back.
Do you have much ERTMS in Germany at the moment? Is that coming in?
ERTMS. That abbreviation means something to me, but I can't think of off the top of my head.
Is it ETCS, European Train European Train Control System?
It's certainly becoming more widespread. They're starting to get that going in Stuttgart. I think they're certainly up in the Stuttgart area. They're currently, I think they've started fitting the trains with ETCS, and the new station will obviously also have ETCS. If you go on DB's website, if someone's really interested, they got a big map of where it currently is and where it will be in the next sort of years. But currently, the biggest route I guess would be from Bamberg up to Halle or Leipzig. So the Germany's newest high-speed line also has it's fitted with ETCS. There's a few others, but that's certainly the main one. But for the most part, it's still quite in the beginning stages. We don't have much ETCS going on.
And Rafe the Trainspot says, do you have to blow your horn when you see people on the track?
This is a good question, because I'm pretty sure this also differs from the UK. So obviously if we see someone who's not meant to be there, absolutely. We also have to apply an emergency brake, obviously. We have to try and minimize the possibility of impact as much as we can. So, emergency brake, throw the sand, blow the horn, and if deemed necessary, which it probably is, emergency call. If you see trackside workers, which I assume is probably what he meant, this is where it differs from the UK. I believe you always have to sound the horn in England. In Germany, we don't.
We do, yeah, all the time.
We only have to if we believe that they haven't seen us. If they're if they're clearly not in the way, we don't have to sound the horn. I think that's a good question, because that is also something that I think is quite a big difference from the UK and German operation.
That's good to know.
But, yeah.
Wyhon Land, no, we didn't overrun. We done well. We just about pulled it off at the last minute. Everyone spilt their tea, but of the coffee. No tea in Germany, it's all coffee.
Yeah.
I think ERTMS was European Train Management System, and I think ETCS is part of ERTMS.
Yeah,
I think ERTMS is a group of systems, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. I definitely have heard that from somewhere. ETRMS. But I couldn't quite put my finger on what it is, but ETCS is definitely European Train Control System, and that's but you're right, it's sort of part of one big project, and the ETCS system is kind of the in-cab signalling. But
Okay, so I've got a yellow, so I'm going to acknowledge my PZB.
Exactly. So when we pass the signal, we acknowledge.
I'm also going to slow down and try not to overrun this station. That's never going to happen.
Yeah. Well, this is a good example for the PZB actually. I think you've gone into emergency there, but
I have.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. I think we can call that overshoot. If you acknowledge that, otherwise we're gonna. Yeah. Did you acknowledge it? Yeah.
I've acknowledged that. Right.
Yeah. Okay. So if we've come to a stop, or if we've gone slowly, I believe it's if you're under 10 kilometers an hour for 15 seconds, then we'll then become in the restricted. Yeah, it's come up. Restricted PZB. So as long as 1,000 hertz is lit up, we cannot release. So we have to abide to these 45, basically.
Okay, well, I'm going to try going backwards and see if it likes that very much.
Yeah.
It's probably going to throw all sorts of wobblies now.
Well, the PZB, if you did go into reverse, it should deactivate. It should sort of, it shouldn't be active in real life. But yeah, I mean, obviously, reversing back in the station would certainly not be the correct thing to do.
I've contacted the signaller.
Yeah.
Do you call them signallers in Germany, or controllers, or?
Well, we call them Fahrdienstleiter, but yeah, it's basically the signaller. Fahrdienstleiter, I guess that's sort of controller of the route. I guess would kind of be the way you translate it. Yeah. So if you go into F again for forward.
That's a good idea.
Have you done it? Oh no, you haven't.
That's now reset. That's reset the PZB.
Okay, yeah. So that's also not realistic. The PZB would remember, but I mean, well then again, I guess there's not really much point simulating that. So if you go, well, I mean, actually that's a good point. Maybe I don't think going into R and then into F again. Yeah, I'm not sure. That's quite a specific situation, but. It basically what I'm saying is that if you sort of deactivate the cab and activate it again, the PZB will remember what you've had.
Yeah.
So you can't sort of cheat it and say, we're staying here for 10 minutes. We'll get rid of the 500 hertz.
Yeah. See now it's picked me up again. My 85 is flashing.
So that's the start program again, though. I'm pretty sure. That's because it's the first journey you've done in that direction. Actually, I suppose that might be realistic.
See, I have released it, but I've still got 85 flashing. Does that mean it's going to knock me out over 45, or does that mean I'm good to go?
Well, that certainly shouldn't have happened. If once you released it, should have stopped flashing. I mean, if you had this in real life and the 85 was flashing, it should mean at 85 it will now knock you out. But again, it shouldn't be flashing if you released.
There we go.
Over 85,
yeah, it stopped flashing.
Oh, stop now. Okay, all right. Then nothing will happen. So if you release, there's no double release or anything. Release is release. Yeah. So once you release, that's it.
Why on Mo? I've always thought of signallers as the railway equivalent of air traffic controllers. In two dimensions, of course.
Yeah, basically. The air traffic control's in charge of the airspace, directing the planes, and that's essentially what a signaller does on the railway. There's certainly a parallel there for sure.
So I've got 100 restriction coming up, but I haven't seen anything to tell me I've got 100 restriction. I must have missed it.
I probably must have missed it as well.
I guess I wouldn't have needed to. I need to acknowledge that yellow there.
Yeah, you have to acknowledge that as well.
And get the speed down very quickly. I guess, because if it's less than 90, I wouldn't need to acknowledge it, would I?
Yeah. Oh, no, sorry. If it's above 90, you wouldn't have had to...
Yeah, so that's why I wouldn't have seen the speed indicator.
Yeah. So the way higher speeds are still monitored, because obviously, it's all good and well, okay, we press acknowledge for speeds of 1 to 9. But what about 10 to 15, What if you have a drop from 160 to 100, that would obviously be, you couldn't just let the train sail at 160 through 100, where it's allowed to go 100. And what they do is, in between the warning and the commencement board, they have they've got a series of 3 magnets.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
What's it taking me out for?
I think you might have gone too fast. I'm not sure. You might have rolled over 85.
I think I did go over 85. Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of on the fly. I wasn't paying attention actually. I was explaining.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for name Nat Shane below 100 acknowledged. Yeah. Brilliant.
I think that was running over 85. Yeah.
I've got to try and recover it now. I'm guessing that's like a timeout on it or something. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the brake's filling. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. So what I was saying. So they have a series of 3 magnets, and one of them kind of activates this 2000 hertz magnet, and that 2000 hertz magnet is active for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And basically, it means that if you were going too fast, then you would go over this 2000 hertz magnet, and that would immediately stop you. But if you're going below the checked speed, then the magnet won't be active long enough, so the train will never pick up the 2000 hertz. So that's how they deal with higher speeds. Because obviously, if we had to acknowledge higher speeds, we'd always have to break down to 85 again.
Yes,
Wouldn't be particularly great.
Yeah, no, that does make perfect sense.
Yeah, so and I mean the main function. I think you. Yeah, we were restricted. I think you were over 45.
I was under. I was under 45.
What's going on with you now? I'll pay more attention to what's going on with you now.
I'm pretty sure I was under 45. That's got to be tea and biscuits with the manager.
Yeah, 2 in a row probably would be, yeah.
I'm almost certain I was under 45. I'd have to go back and rewatch that.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention either. Sorry, I'll definitely look more closely to what you're doing now. So yeah, so all right, so we're definitely restricted to 45.
We're going towards a red, so we're going to get a 500 hertz magnet in a minute.
This is a good trap actually, because when you go over the red, you will then be checked between 40 to 25. So brake below 25. Just brake a bit. You're at 25 now. Yeah. So that's a nice trap. If you're in a restricted mode and then you go over a 500, you might think, oh, I'm allowed to go at 40 or 30. But if you're in restricted, you have to definitely think about the 25. Otherwise,
it does say on the screen there 25. To be fair.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is, and again, we're always doing these speeds 5 kilometers lower, so you would go at 20.
To go 20. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean.
This is quite friendly, really, isn't it? Because it kind of tells you what you're allowed to be doing and when you should be doing it.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So So this sort of EBI cab is what it's called. EBI cab, basically. Their version of piece of B. It tells you in a yellow bar what you have to do.
Max has gone back and watched it. I was doing 43 when that emergency application come in.
All right. I might rewatch. If you can tell me the time, I'll rewatch it as well, and I'll see what went wrong. Unless someone else has an idea, because I wasn't paying attention. So if he was going 43, you might have. I'd have to rewatch it. When did it happen? It was about 2 minutes ago, I think. I'll see if I can find it. I think it was longer.
Manager, the unit is broken. Says Eliza. You definitely. Yeah, I'm happy to go with that. Lock doors against a red signal. I'm sure that's probably not common practice in Germany. Certainly not in the UK.
That's correct. You wouldn't be allowed to do that. No dispatching against red. And also, I'm not sure if this is the same in the UK, but certainly you're not allowed to drive against red. So if you've already come to a standstill, then you're staying at a standstill. Without signal's permission, you're not allowed to just approach the red again.
If we're stopped in a platform or a permissively worked area, which is an area where you can have 2 trains in the same section, then that applies. Mm-hmm. However, if you're just on the main line and you stopped, you could pull up to a red signal. Certainly, if you're in a platform, you can't.
Yeah, that mirrors us entirely. So with us, it depends if you're in a station or not. Well, I mean, I say station, but in Germany, there's a bit of a more relevance to it. But basically, if you're on the sort of free line, shall we say. So between 2 stations, then you would also be allowed to approach red without contacting the signaller, but having stopped prior. But it's quite an uncommon situation. Obviously, you have to be very sure where you are. Again, if you're in what's defined as a station in Germany, absolutely a no-go.
Yeah, it's kind of all these little things and all these bits of rules and stuff that you need to know. Absolutely. That I said earlier in the earlier stream, I don't think there's anything massively complicated about train driving.
No, I mean,
there's just a lot of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think,
and I mean, I think the main the challenge of the job is staying active and being aware even when everything's going well, because if you've been driving for a long time and it's just been greens all the time, it can be easy to lose focus. So that's certainly one of the challenges, and I'd say the other one is obviously keeping it together, and when the emergency situation does arrive, that you're still you're on your A game, and you have everything under control, and you're not sort of overseeing speed limits or any other sort of information that's relevant to the situation. I think those are the two biggest challenges of the job, is just having all this information, knowledge of the what if scenarios, and obviously maintaining focus even when everything's working, when everything's clear sailing. Those are the two main challenges, I'd say, of the job.
Yeah, I'd probably I'd mirror what you said there, most definitely. So that's the end of that run. We actually got a gold medal for that, despite our numerous activations on the PCP. So I think that's probably quite generous. We'll take that.
It's something that it will become second nature quicker than you think as well. There's not too much to it. It's just the beginning of knowing what to do when. I think you grow into it quite quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
You quickly learn what you have to acknowledge. You quickly learn when can I release. There's not too much to it really, and at the end of the day, it's not an arcade game. It's not like a game to trick you out. It's a safety system to prevent you, or at least if you do go over red, to make sure it's at a slow speed.
To kind of mitigate the consequences of that.
Exactly, yeah. That's
so
at the end of the day what it is.
We're just in locomotive location livery now. I am just going to do a big reveal on this one. So I'm going to press that button here.
It's time to reveal today's locomotive livery location.
That is a DB class 114 at Fulda, which was a station we went through earlier. So well done to everybody who got that right. So we've been going for coming up 2 hours, Alex. So I'm going to thank you very much.
Just looked at the time. No, absolutely. I really enjoyed it. I think I made the same mistake as I did last time. I sort of dived in a bit too deep quite often. I should definitely try and reel myself in a bit. But I really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for having me.
No, likewise. And
if, a lot of fun.
And if you're happy, we'd love to do one of these again in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely.
Certainly some more on the PZB, because that's a lot more involved than the LZB, and it's something I would like to master. Definitely. And I should imagine a lot of people in the stream would probably like to kind of master that as well. So
I personally find the LZB more interesting, but only because the scenarios of what happens, when it fails, what happens, in sort of, that is a very interesting topic. But obviously that's not done in the simulator, and that's definitely not for a sort of a stream. Yeah. But PZB, I think that's definitely, especially at a sim level, it's definitely more a sort of more advanced thing. There's more to it. It's more interesting. Because LZB, when it's all working, it's literally just it's the easiest thing in the world. I guess you just look at the speed you're allowed to do and don't go over it, and even the train's preventing you from doing that. So
Fabian says we should do it with Zusi Free, which I know you've shown me before is very good.
That is I do own that. Yeah, it's been a while since I think that's the last time I opened it, actually, when I was showing
that's a proper German simulator.
Yeah, that it's the realism is quite big on that one. The graphics aren't obviously the best, but I think especially for learning things like PZB, it's probably one of the best things you can do as a in a sort of hobby situation, without being in the training, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway,
guys, I'm just going to say thank you very much to Alex for joining us. It's been absolutely fantastic, and thank you very much to everyone in the chat for joining us. If you haven't already, please do hit that like button and subscribe. That would be absolutely awesome. There will be another stream tomorrow, but I don't know what it's going to be yet. It could be SCR, it could be GCR, it could be Train Sim World 3, it could be anything. And there will be a Dad Rail video coming out tomorrow as well, which is going to be a back cab ride. And that's kind of a preview demo video for some other work that I want to do. So I kind of want to get your opinions on that. So keep an eye out for that, guys. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please do hit that like button. Consider subscribing. Check out my social media channels. Alex has a diary section over on the Discord as well. He updates it more often than I do mine. So if you want to,
still kind of infrequent, yeah.
Yeah,
but
it's more often than I do mine. So if you have any questions for Alex, then do head over to Discord. He is over there, and I'm sure he'll be more than happy to.
Yeah, I was going to add that in the end anyway. I know there was quite a few questions that we didn't get around to. If they want to know, yeah, just send it on Discord. I'm quite easy to find on Richard's Discord. Just send me a message there, or yeah, and I can answer it. I mean, I love talking about the German railway, and yeah, if there's any questions, absolutely. Send them my way, and I'll do my best to answer them.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Alex.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. I really enjoyed it, and
no worries.
In the future sometime as well. That'd be great.
And thank you very much, stream, and we shall see you in the next one.